I have a special guest here today. I'm joined by the Pitt State football head coach, Tom Anthony. And Coach, thank you so much for joining me today.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Thanks for having me out.
Yeah, and I know we're a little bit past the season after the end against Harding, but now that you've had some time to reflect, look back on the season, just what stands out to you about this year?
Yeah, I mean, just proud of our guys. You know, we went in, this offseason, probably played the toughest schedule in Division II football, which I think was exciting for a lot of people going into the season. Obviously started 0-2, and backs against the wall. I think that's what, as I look back and reflect on the season, probably what made me most proud of this group is, after starting 0-2, the way they responded. And we were able to, rattle off, 9 straight wins, share the conference title, had a great win to close out the regular season up in Kansas City against Northwest. Carry that momentum into the playoffs, and then just unfortunately there, went down to Harding in round 2 and couldn't get the job done. But overall, man, I think that's what makes me most proud about this 2025 team is just the way they battled, the way they stayed together, when that adversity did hit early in the season.
And we talked about it a lot throughout this year, that 10-game winning streak after that 0-2 start. Just what does that say about the resiliency of this year's group, and then also the leaders that you had? Because so many returners with guys like Jordan Rogers, Jalen Fuchs, Stephen Ward, guys that have been in the program.
Yeah, just proud. I think that's the best word to describe it. Not just proud of the players, but proud of the staff. Proud of the staff, the way, they were able to find new ways as we moved there, out of that 0-2 start. You kind of had to recalibrate and reset a little bit as a program and say, hey, what were we doing, maybe through fall camp or these first, 2 weeks of the season that wasn't working, and how can we change that in order to help us have success? And really just focused on just having kind of that little short-term memory, man, and just being able to go 1-0 each week, 1-0 each day, finding ways to get better and just taking it kind of one day at a time. And just proud of the whole program, the whole organization, for being able to do that.
Yeah, and a big thing, you mentioned the gauntlet of a schedule, because you play in the MIAA, that's already a gauntlet in and of itself, but then opponents like Grand Valley, opponents like Ferris State, who won another national title, just playing that tough schedule. How do you think playing that type of schedule, those types of opponents, really help this team, kind of like you said, take it week by week, but also that experience, knowing that, hey, we're going against some of the best?
Definitely. I mean, when you start with that type of a schedule on the front end, right away, number one, where you're at, and number two, where you need to get to. So being able to do that and start that way to start the season, our guys knew right away kind of where we were at as a program, what we needed to get better at, and then that could just kind of help propel us there, as we move forward through the season. But always great to start the season off with a high quality opponent, and we definitely did that, the first 3-4 weeks of the season, and then it just continued on because there's no breaks. MIAA, every week's a playoff game. So for us having the opportunity to play those tough games early in the season, I think definitely helped us as we moved forward, throughout the year.
And going into this past season, there was a lot of new, especially on offense. JB under center at quarterback, Zamari coming in, kind of being a later addition in the summer, and seeing them ball out really, both MIAA honors. Just what were the expectations for those two going into the year and seeing them kind of shatter them and turn the offense into what it became?
Yeah, I don't even know, I don't know if you set just certain expectations on brand new guys that come into your program. You just hope that they can get familiar with how you want to do things. And then you try as coaches to put them in a position where they can thrive. Going in through the first, week or two of the season, ZPG wasn't getting a lot of touches because he was still learning the offense. Obviously, Jackson was still getting comfortable with the wide receivers, with the offensive line. And I think as the season went on, Cleo got banged up a little bit, which kind of presented more of an opportunity for Zamari. And then we ended up having, probably one of the better 1-2 punches in terms of a rushing attack, as the season went on. So just super proud of those guys, just coming in and buying into what we were doing. And then obviously proud, as well as of our older guys and our returners, for being able to welcome guys like that into your program, because we're kind of in this era now, where you are going to have some transfers coming in and out of your program year to year. So your older guys have to be bought into that mindset as well, of being open to new guys coming into the program who might only be 1-year guys or maybe a 2-year guy, welcoming them in, showing them how we do things, and then also being able to hold those guys accountable to do the things that we want them to do.
Yeah, and Coach, you mentioned some of those returners, some of those guys welcoming guys, and we mentioned Jordan Rogers, Jalen Fuchs, all those guys, and you talked about it after that loss to Harding in the second round, the legacy of that group and those seniors. Just what can you kind of say about them and their development? Because for you, especially with your relationship you talked about with Jordan, you left for a year, come back, and just those relationships that you had how hard is it to say goodbye to those guys and, reflect on their legacy?
Yeah, every year it's hard, hard to say goodbye to your seniors, especially those seniors that have been in your program for, 4 to 5 years and have poured so much into it. To see those guys come in as 18-year-old freshmen and then to watch them grow into men, over the next, 4 to 5 years, see those guys walk across that stage, get their diploma, get their degree. That group was pretty special to me. That group of seniors that were all redshirt seniors for us this year, because that truly was kind of our, when I got here with Coach Wright, our very first recruiting class that we kind of poured into. Obviously when we got here in December of 2019, had to put together a class really quick, right away in about a month. But then really that group, the Jordan Rogers, Medeiros, Fuchsa, Jeremy Sharp, Carter Stanchfield, I'm missing some, I know I am, Cleo Chandler, those guys were kind of that first group that we really poured into, to get those guys to come here to buy into what we were doing. So that group will always, hold a special place in my heart, because I poured a lot of my time into recruiting those guys here. And then obviously when they come, you pour so much time and effort, your family, my wife, our kids, pour so much time and effort into those kids as well. I remember after the Harding game, all the emotions of those guys leaving. And I just remember my son runs up to me and he's in tears and he's like, "Dad, I don't want Jordan to leave." So you build those relationships with those guys, man, and they mean a lot to you. And then hopefully you've built a strong enough relationship that just continues on through life. I want those guys to be able to call me in a year or 2 or 5 years down the road, and asking for life advice or asking, sending me a wedding invitation to come to a wedding. That is a special group, and they'll always hold a special place in my heart for sure.
Yeah, and Coach, after that opening run against Chadron State, that when you got emotional talking about Pittsburgh, and you had the opportunity to come back, like you said, you came here in 2019, you come back as head coach. Just kind of talk to me a little bit about that. Just all those more emotions coming out at that time.
Yeah, obviously any time in life where you're at an emotional high or low, you always reflect, on what brought you to where you're at. And that was a big part of me coming back here, and our family making the choice, my wife and I and the kids making the choice to come back here. For us, it was a no-brainer, and it was, simply because of the people, the relationships we built when we were here, the first time around when I was the defensive coordinator. And I think that's what makes Pittsburgh State, that's what makes Pittsburgh, Kansas, Southeast Kansas so special. Gorilla Nation, man, is just how much people care about it, and then how much they pour into you when you're a part of it. I think that's what makes it really, really cool is, just people always, hey, how can I help? What can I do to help you? And then that helps you build, just lifelong friendships, that I know 30 to 40 to 50 years from now, hopefully I'm still alive and kicking. There's going to be so many lifelong friendships that my wife and I have built here, that our kids have built here, that are always going to be a part of our lives moving forward.
Yeah, and Coach, I saw something on Twitter recently, a quote that you said that, in an era where coaches and players, they look to take that next step. You mentioned being great at where you're at. Yeah,
I think that's kind of an old coaching motto, man. Be where your feet are. Our feet are in Pittsburgh, Kansas. Our kids love it here. My wife and I love it here. And there's so much more to it, I think, for me than just coaching, right? I want to be somewhere where there's great people, and not just the coaching staff, not just the administration, not just the university, but great people in our lives. The friends we've made, the people in the community. That's a big part of it for me, for our family, is, we just want to be somewhere where there's great people and there's resources there for our family to thrive. There's resources for our kids to thrive, and then there's resources for us to go out and win a lot of football games, because that's the goal at the end of the day. Is we don't make any bones about it, man. We want to win a national title here, and you got to be somewhere where they're going to give you the resources to do that. Pittsburgh State, we have those resources. Now it's just a matter of going out and finding the right kids to come into our program, surrounding yourself with great assistant coaches who are going to help develop those kids and can coach at a high level, build relationships at a high level. To me, Pittsburgh State is it's the total package, and that starts with the people that are here.
Yeah, and you mentioned that this place is a total package, and everything that Pitt State has done, the winningest program in D2 history. After that loss to Harding, you mentioned that when you look at Division II football, the guys at the top are the Bisons and then Ferris State, and that you guys are kind of looking to get to that point. What do you think you, the coaching staff, and the program can do to get to that level? And like you said, the goal is to win a national championship.
Yeah, definitely. I think the number one thing you got to do is, you can't win football games without talent. and so we got to go out each and every year. We have to sit down at the end of the season. We have to look at our program from top to bottom. We have to evaluate ourselves, number one, as coaches. What can we do better? What can I do better as the head coach to help our assistant coaches? What can we do better as a program to continue to grow and elevate ourselves? And then I think first and foremost, that starts with going out and recruiting, number one, really, really good football players. You can't win games without good football players, but it's not just about talent. I mean, you got to go out and recruit a very talented kid. For us, we want to recruit a high character kid and a committed kid. I think that's something that gets lost right now in college football in this era of movement and what else is out there. Is we want to find kids that are committed to be here, right? I'm not in the business of recruiting kids if they have the mindset, well, I'm going to come there for a year or two, then I'm going to go find something different. Man, we have so many resources here. We have so many great people here, in Guerrilla Nation in Southeast Kansas and in Pittsburgh. Man, I want to recruit a high level high school kid that's going to come here for 4 to 5 years, have a great experience, get a great degree, and win a lot of football games. And that's to me that's my goal, and that's the ever changing kind of evolution of college football right now with the transfer portal and the NIL. If you can go find really, really good high school kids that are committed to coming in and buying into your process and to your culture, our ultimate goal is we still want to be a program that recruits high school kids, develops them. We keep them here for 4 to 5 years, and we win a lot of football games.
And how special is it, especially in this new era, guys like Jalen Fuchs, guys like Jordan Rogers, who could have tried to enter the transfer portal, go play D1 with their talent, but they stay here in Pittsburgh, and like you said, that commitment and that high talent that stays here.
Yeah, it's tough. It's tough, and I think the number one thing with that is you got to build a good relationship with those kids, right? You got to build a strong enough relationship that when that time comes and they potentially have the opportunity to go do that the relationship you have with them overrides potentially what else is out there. So I think that's one thing we've done a really good job here, and I was fortunate, as a coach. So when I was young, to be around so many amazing men who kind of thrived on that. I look back at my time at Youngstown State with John Haycock, who was the Iowa State defensive coordinator, just retired. Was able to work with Brian Wright, so many, Mike Uremovich. I could just continue to go on and on. Mike Haywood at Miami of Ohio. I was so fortunate to work with so many really good men who their number one priority was to build relationships, and you do that by treating people well. And so I was able to learn that at a very, very young point in my career, and have just tried to carry that forward. And just again, it's about building relationships and building the trust with those kids. And you hope when that time comes, where there might be a better opportunity out there for them from maybe a level of football or a financial, position that they could maybe leverage for themselves. You just hope that relationship you built with them up to that point can kind of override some of that outside stuff.
Coach, you mentioned the relationships that you have with some of these guys. I know Zamari and Karan Parchman, they both entered the portal. Yeah. You told me they're now coming back. Just how cool is it to see them know that relationship? And you said you want that relationship to funnel through. What does that say about the connections that you and your coaching staff have with those guys, that they want to come back and that they want to be here at Pitt State?
Yeah, I think part of that is just being honest and transparent with them. I think that's part of our job as coaches. I think sometimes we try to sugarcoat things maybe a little too much. Just being honest and transparent with them, like, hey, here's where I think you're at. Here's what we can do for you at Pitt State. And then they're grown men. I mean, you gotta sometimes give them the opportunity to maybe go see what's out there, right? And again, that's part of the world we're in right now. And then as a coach, you got to try to find that perfect fit of allowing them to be men and maybe learn a life lesson, but also then still being able to fall back. Hey, you didn't find what you were looking for, man. Like, my love for you is still there. I'm gonna love you no matter what you do, whether it's here or not. And then again, sometimes you got to keep that door open a little bit, kind of in this new day and age with football. And with those two guys, man, they came to me early. They did it the right way. We had grown men, grown adult conversations about it, and then they went about their process. They did it the right way. Stayed in constant communication with me the whole time. leaned very much again on a leadership council we had and their insight on what that part is too. So I think that's important too. That's how you create a really good culture within your program, man, is you better have a really good leadership group that you can lean on to help you make some of those decisions, because that's important too. It's not just about what I want or what the assistant coaches want. I think a lot of that is, what's the locker room, right? What's the gauge of the locker room on some of this? So being able to have a really good leadership group that I've kind of leaned on over the last month and a half, those guys have been phenomenal. So I think that's a big part of that too.
Yeah, and Coach, I've talked to other college coaches that said, once you enter the portal, you're not coming back. What's your mindset with that?
Yeah, I think to me, it's just about how you come to me, right? Are you going to come to me and be honest and upfront about why you're doing it? What is driving you to make that decision? And then allowing me to potentially go out and find a way to keep you here, right? That's a big part of it too. So yeah, I mean, we don't have a set rule in our program. I never will. I treat these guys, you're a grown man and you got to make the best decision for you, but come to me so we can have that conversation. Give me the opportunity to keep you here, number one, right? And then as long as we're going through that process and we're on the same page and we're doing it the right way, that's just kind of the world that we live in. It's no different. I tell our guys it's no different than out in the real world, right? Someday you're going to have a job. There might be a better situation out there for you. Go to your current employer, have that conversation, and because that's how the real world works, right? So as we work through this process, it's not just about our football program, but it's also about teaching some of these guys life lessons, right? You're going to get out in the world someday, you're going to have a job, and you're going to have the ability to leverage your position at times, right? So we're also trying to teach them that skill set in life, because that is a very real skill set that they are going to have to learn how to navigate. So again, it just comes back to, man, be honest and upfront with me. Let's have grown men conversations, and we'll work our way through that process together.
Yeah, and Coach, in general, with this new era of NIL and the transfer portal, what's kind of your mentality and your approach to all the changing landscapes, and also how have you kind of adjusted to how there's more and more impact with the portal and NIL?
Man, you almost got to adjust every year, because every year the NCAA is going to create a new rule, or they're going to lax rules that were maybe in place before. So I think for us as coaches, man, you got to be fluid and you got to be able to adjust year to year. I look back at the transfer portal, up until this year. That transfer portal used to open for Division I, right after the regular season ended. So for us as coaches, we had the whole month of December to kind of iron through all that, build relationships with potential transfers, sift through some of the fluff that's out there. Well, this year they decided we're going to only have one 10-day transfer portal window, and it's going to be right after the new year, and you're going to have 10, 14 days to iron through all this. Well, I mean, that's not very much time, so again, we had to adjust this year, right, and take a different approach with some of that. So it's ever changing, it's fluid, there are no rules. I think the NCAA right now is failing a lot of people in terms of the student athletes, in terms of the coaches. So yeah, will there be more restrictions on it? I hope so. I don't know what those will be. I don't make those decisions, but I hope at some point we can get solid rules in place that's fluid year to year. And for us as coaches and football programs, and even for the athletes, more clarity on kind of here's the path and this is going to be the path moving forward. And again, I don't make those decisions, so we just kind of have to adapt and adjust. And that's part of life too, is being able to do stuff like that.
Yeah, and Coach, 2 years in as a head coach here at Pitt State, having a year like this, all the adversity that came with that start, bouncing back, getting to the playoffs, and really competing against Harding. I know that first half didn't go the way you wanted, but that second half, there were opportunities there. Just how does a year like this help set the foundation in the culture that you and your coaching staff want for guerrilla football?
Yeah, I mean, 2 years in, been a lot of learning, and still a lot of learning to come. I think that's one thing in life, man. If you think you know it all, you know nothing. So just constantly trying to learn, evolve. How can we make our program better today? How can we make it better tomorrow, a month from now, a year from now? And just finding different ways, talking to people that have done it at a high level, spitballing ideas with your assistant coaches, talking to your current players, guys. Hey, what do you think we do really well in our program? What don't we do well? I think that is always very, very important. And sometimes I think maybe some coaches lose sight of that, is, boy, getting feedback from your players That's some of the most powerful messages you can receive, right? If we just go and do it and we never ask their feedback, what they like, what they don't like, what they think we can do better, we're really missing the boat on some of that. So again, just always trying to find ways to improve. Number one, trying to get better talent each and every year in the recruiting cycle. Going out and finding the best coaches that we can possibly find to help develop these young men. And then obviously just surrounding yourself by good people. I think at the end of the day, man, that's what it's about. It's a people world. It's a people business. If you can surround yourself with really good people, surround yourself with really good players that are also good people. Obviously we are super blessed here to have an amazing administration, an amazing support staff, an amazing community that supports us. So again, I mentioned it earlier, just kind of the total package here at Pitt State. We're super blessed to be here. And just, again, the people, and that's what makes this place special.
Yeah, and Coach, with the transfer portal and all the recruiting, you've been busy out recruiting since the season ended. Have there been some areas and some positions of focus you're trying to bring in for next season? What's that been like and all the hectic stuff going on for you since the season ended?
Yeah, obviously from a roster standpoint, there were a couple key positions where we lost a lot of guys. Obviously in the defensive secondary, losing 3 safeties that were all conference, losing 3 corners that were all conference at some point. So you're talking about, we just graduated 6 guys in our secondary that were all conference performers for us at some point over the last 2 to 3 seasons. So obviously that was probably the biggest area of need that we needed to go out and address. I think we've done a really good job of that up to this point so far, is going out and finding a couple transfers to come in and help us. But also I think we've hit the nail on the head up to this point. Hard to tell now. Everyone says, man, Coach, this recruiting class looks great, doing a great job. Well, we'll see in 2 years, 2 to 3 years. We'll see how good of a class it was. But I do think we've gone out. Our coaches have done a phenomenal job of filling some of those holes there just from graduation. Obviously, always offensive and defensive line. Graduating some seniors, but also at the same time, you can never have enough offensive and defensive linemen. So I think our guys have done a great job up to this point. But I would say those are probably the 3 biggest positions going into this recruiting cycle that we were looking to fill with a lot of bodies, some high talent to come in and help us too, is secondary and O-line, D-line for sure.
Yeah, and Coach, who are some of those guys that have committed, transferred, or maybe some high school guys that you are really excited about and that can make a big impact next season?
Yeah, I think we were able to land a mid-year transfer corner out of Winona State. His name's Elijah Randall. Played for them up there. Phenomenal player. I think he's going to come in and have a great career for us. We were able to get a mid-year transfer interior D lineman Andrew Link out of Missouri State, who was a kid that we recruited out of Kickapoo, out of high school, known about Andrew a long time. And then obviously we've had a couple. I think the really cool thing in this class is we have three early enrollees, out of high school in the secondary, which saw how beneficial that was for a kid last year like Quentin Kirby, who came in and played a lot for us as a true freshman safety out of East St. Louis. He early enrolled, man. That's such a huge asset for those guys to be able to early enroll, go through your off season, go through spring ball, and just get a leg up on all that, by the time you get to fall camp. So again, just super excited about a couple of those guys, excited to see how they come in and respond to the things we do. So yeah, again, credit to our coaches, Coach Perkins, Coach Schrader in the secondary. I'm excited about our new offensive line coach. Coach Grant Garner's done a great job coming in the last few weeks, kind of nailing down some offensive linemen for us. And then obviously Coach Everett on the defensive line's done a great job as well.
Yeah, and Coach, who are some returners that you're really excited about as well? I know ZPG coming back, Karan coming back. The offense looks loaded. Then those younger guys that played, like Quincy Minor, Quentin Kirby in the secondary. Who are some guys that you think are ready to take another step forward next year that are returning?
Yeah, obviously, Quincy and Quentin are going to be huge. Them getting that playing time as true freshmen this past year is going to be huge for us as a team, huge for them as individuals, moving forward. I had a true freshman wide receiver that played a lot for us last year as well, Damian Long. Excited to see what he does. And then obviously some other returners back for us. Obviously Luke Nigaman, third team all-conference tight end for us. Luke's going to be a huge part of what we do offensively, continuing to find ways to put the ball in his hands because he is so dangerous. Then on the defensive side, Blake Carr. I look at what Blake did for us as a redshirt freshman. inside linebacker. We went through the first two weeks of the season, and obviously Zach Kanan going down with the ruptured patella tendon there during late into fall camp. He was going to be a huge part of what we did defensively. Then to lose him, that was a huge hole there for us those first couple weeks of the season. So to see Blake Carr as a redshirt freshman step up, the way he did, and then end up starting, I think he ended up starting 10 or 11 games for us as a redshirt freshman. Blake set himself up to continue to have a great year next year. Kiro Martin, Elijah Morton were both redshirt freshman edge players for us on the D-line. Excited to see what they do now coming out of their redshirt freshman season. A couple of young offensive linemen that have been waiting the last couple of years, Quentin Bradley, Manny Conley. Colin Beasley's another kid that came in last year for us that's going to be a huge player for us. And then obviously a couple older returners as well. Caden DeGraff and Reed started every game for us at left tackle. Pecco, Leo Cialagi started every game for us at right guard. So again, there's a lot of good veterans coming back for us, but man, we had a lot of young guys that played a lot for us last year that was really good for them. I'm excited to see what they do, going into this offseason.
Yeah, and there's so many changes with the roster that go in every single year, but the coaching staff, there's been some changes as well. Mark Smith now an offensive coordinator, new offensive line coach as well. Kind of talk to me about some of those promotions, some of those changes to the staff, and your excitement knowing that you got some fresh blood and some guys that have been here taking on new roles.
Yeah, super excited for Mark. Came to him, when we made the change and asked him if he would be, willing to be the offensive coordinator. It wasn't something he took lightly. And I know he's going to pour everything he has, not just into being the offensive coordinator, but into this place. Pitt State is a special place to Mark Smith, and obviously growing up in Pittsburgh, growing up in Southeast Kansas, then being an All-American at Pitt State in the Pitt State Hall of Fame. I think Mark's going to do a phenomenal job. Mark brings such a unique background. I think one of the cool things, especially for us, man, for me, moving forward offensively, I had this vision. It's like, all right, man, I want to. It's not necessarily about scheme for me. It's about players. Who are our best players, and how can we find a way to mold and morph our offense in order to help them have success? And I think having Mark do that, being a high school coach for so long, you really don't have any other options at the high school level. You don't know what you're going to have year to year, right? So you got to be able to adapt and adjust your scheme to the players you have. So Mark having that background of having to do that for over a decade at Frontenac and doing it at a very high level, I think is going to be really good for our offense. And then hired an offensive line coach, Grant Garner, who played at Oklahoma State. He was the Big 12 Offensive Lineman of the Year in 2010 or 11, I believe. All-American there. Very knowledgeable, blew us away in the interview process, and I think he's going to be a great fit for our O-line room as well.
And you mentioned Mark Smith and his connection to this place. Yeah. How cool is it to be able to see somebody who has such a passion like you do for Pittsburgh in this community to say, hey, I know what this place is. He's in the Hall of Fame. He knows Pitt State football more than anybody else, really, and you get to have him as your offensive
coordinator.
For
sure. There was a time there where I hired Mark as the wideouts coach. I didn't feel comfortable driving into Frontenac, for a couple months. I was fearful of what someone might do to me. But man, you talk about the best human being in the world, number one, right? Mark Smith, his wife Lindsay, their kids, man, such a phenomenal family. Obviously the coaching lineage in his family, with his dad Chuck being a legendary coach. Mark, first and foremost, just one of the best human beings I've ever been around. Goes about everything the right way. He's a relationship builder. He's a players first, cares so much about his players. And then on top of that, man, cares so much about this place. I know that Mark is going to pour everything he has into this job, into this place, because of what Pittsburgh State means to him, what Pittsburgh State did to him, and help mold him as a person, as a man, as a coach. So man, I'm just so excited for Mark, so excited for their family, and man, to have Mark Smith on our staff, huge asset for me. Number one, as the head coach at Pitt State, to have a guy like him on our staff, and then again, just knowing his work ethic, what he's going to pour into this job, what he's going to pour into this place, is going to be very advantageous for our players and for our program.
Coach, we've talked a lot about Pitt State, but I know you're a Steelers fan, so I have to ask, what was your reaction to the news with Mike Tomlin leaving?
Man, it's tough. It's tough. It's a tough business. At the end of the day, I think you saw it crazy, this offseason to look at the NFL and probably see two of the best NFL coaches in the history of the NFL. Both were probably forced out of their jobs. When you look at Harbaugh and Tomlin, what they did in Baltimore, what they did in Pittsburgh, and the longevity they did it at such a high level, I don't know if you're ever going to see that again, right? To have two guys that had that type of longevity at the same time in the same division, going against each other for so long, to be able to sustain that success at any level, right? High school, college, and then at the highest level at the NFL is one of the most impressive things I've ever seen. And so much, I don't know Mike Tomlin from a hole in the wall, never met him, but to be able to see that type of success for that length, that longevity that he did it at, and just the incredible man that he appears to be. Every time you hear him talk, every time you see, whenever you hear his players talk about him, he's a first-class human being, did it the right way. And the second that Mike Tomlin decides he wants to coach again, there's going to be NFL teams, college teams probably knocking down his door. But yeah, as a Steelers fan, just to see that level of success for so long is pretty cool, pretty incredible.
Do you think Aaron Rodgers is coming back for another year, or do you think that we've seen him throw his last pass?
I think you saw him throw his last pass for the Steelers probably. I don't know if the Steelers are going to bring him back. But again, I as a coach, as a former athlete, I just admire guys at any level, whether it's college, whether it's in the NFL, high school. You look at a guy like John Roderick at Webb City. Those guys that can sustain high levels of success over the longevity for such a long period of time, do it at a high level. As an athlete, as a coach, you have a great appreciation for that. Whether you're a Steelers fan or not, I have a great appreciation for Andy Reid and what he's been able to do, right? To the success he had with the Philadelphia Eagles for so long, and then to come to the Chiefs and do it. Bill Belichick, John Roderick, Kirk Ferentz at Iowa is another one I look at growing up in Iowa. That type of longevity over a long period of time, super incredible, and you just always respect that. And then as a coach, you're trying to dive in and find different ways of how did they do that, right? What helped them sustain that type of success for so long, and always trying to study that. I try to every off season, try to dive into and read one or two books on leadership, whether it's coaches, military, political leader. It doesn't matter. I'm always trying to find ways. How can I make myself better? How can I make our organization better as a leader? How can I help develop young people better? How can I help develop our assistant coaches better? So to be able to dive into and see guys like that, it's really cool, I think, in this day and age with just how much immediate success we want from our players and our coaches, to be able to see an organization that allows their coaches, to work and give them the opportunity to have that success for such a long time is pretty cool.
Yeah, and Coach, you kind of mentioned that you don't think you're going to see any of those coaches like Harbaugh, like Tomlin, that were there for nearly 2 decades straight. Longest tenure coach in the NFL now, Andy Reid, and he's been with the Chiefs 13 seasons, just in a profession that you're in where it's so dominant on winning. Just how hard is it to kind of keep a straight mind knowing that, hey, if we're struggling for a minute, my job could be up, knowing that, you're not seeing that long-term coaching eras at schools.
Yeah. I think, again, it goes back to the people, right? If you surround yourself with really good people, I've tried the best I can, over the last 5-10 years as I've gotten a little older. My wife does a good job of helping me with this a little bit too, is always trying to take a step back from the wins and losses, because at the end of the day, we're people and we're dealing with people. And our job as college coaches is really, number one job is to help develop young men, right? So if we can get really good people into our program to help do that, if you can get a really good player, developing him into a really good person, he's probably going to help you win a lot of football games. And at the end of the day, man, if you just surround yourself with really good people, the wins are fun, the losses are hard, but at the end of the day, if you're with good people coming into the office every day, coming into the office is fun, man. Whether it's after a win or a loss, you feel a certain way, but man, as long as you're around good people coming into the office every day, coaching football is fun. I tell everybody that, man. I don't ever dread going to the office. There's always new challenges each and every day, but at the end of the day, man, I get to put a whistle around my neck, go out and run around on the football field with 18 to 22-year-olds. I don't quite run as fast as I maybe did 10 or 15 years ago, but at the end of the day, man, it's football, right? And we get to go have fun coaching it. We get to have fun watching watching kids have success. I think for me, that's one of the most rewarding things is, man, when those kids go out on the field and they have success, it's so fun to see that, right? And to be able to pour into that. You get to feel a little bit of that as a competitor. We just get to stand on the sidelines and watch it. But when you see a kid make a great play or make a big hit or have a great block or see Schmitty kick a 50-something yard field goal, man, that's the fun part to me. So, yeah, just people. It always comes back to people to me, and that's something I've learned probably in the last 5, 6, 7 years is, man, as long as you're around really good people, like, life's good, and we're fortunate here to be around a lot of really good people.
Coach, I know I'm missing Pitt State football. I know a lot of people are. Can't wait for next year. Thank you so much for taking the time with me.
Absolutely. Appreciate it, man. Thanks.